Are you tired of buying supermarket plants only to have them look like this after a couple of days? Well, the good news is it's not your fault, and there's actually something you can do besides just water them properly and taking good care of them that will actually make it survive at your home. Now, I said it's not your fault because you could be doing absolutely everything right, but if you keep it in this container, well, it's gonna end up looking like this. So you might be thinking that the supermarket is trying to screw you or something. Why do the plants always keep dying? And you have to understand that the supermarket's job is to try to give you as much usable food in the smallest container possible. So what they end up doing is they end up completely overseeding this, growing it to a specific height where they know that people are going to buy it. And then that's kind of it. Like, these plants are not grown in conditions to make them last a long time. So if I pull this plant out, you're probably going to see the roots just absolutely circling around the plant here. So what that means is that this plant is completely root bound and it needs to be potted up into a bigger container. So let's take this Vietnamese coriander out of here. I've already harvested all the seeds from it, so I've got plenty for next season. And let's go ahead and put that coriander in this much bigger pot. Alright guys, so once you've identified a container which is bigger than the original supermarket container, you're going to want to put whatever potting mix you have in there, but let's say you already have an older plant and you're wondering how to get it out easily so you can reuse that. Well, I'll just show you how to do that. Now, if you were to just try to pull this out without doing anything to the soil, you're going to find that you're going to pull out everything, including the soil. So what I like to do is I like to wet it a little bit right near where the stem is, pretty aggressively, and you'll find that it comes out really easily then. Now, I've obviously pulled this out already, so it's not going to be that easy. But if you water it, you will be able to just do minimal damage to the soil and have like a nice little hole left over. And when you see that there's still some dirt clumped around here, just take like some water and spray it and it'll get a lot of that dirt basically back out. So once you have this, you can just dispose of that however you want. You don't have to. All right, so you've got your container. I'll tell you what this yellow stuff is in a moment. But what you want to do is make sure you build like a little hole in here, and you're going to want the soil to be quite wet at this point. I'll tell you why as well in a moment. So let's go ahead and prepare the coriander to be put back in here. Now, full disclaimer, we messed up the recording, so this is a different plant, but I'm going to go back to the original plant in a moment. So when I pull this out, you'll see that this one is even more root bound than the first plant I showed you. Now, what you're going to want to do is you need to loosen up those roots to prepare them so that they can actually start searching for new soil again. So what you do is pretty simple. You just kind of rub your hand around the outside of it. Maybe this bottom, you want to be quite aggressive, and don't even worry if like clumps of roots come off. You want it to be like kind of loose and have a lot of exposed ends. And you're just going to want to keep doing that all the way around, kind of. And what you want to end up with is basically a lot of roots that are kind of like free, both on the sides and on the bottom. So once you've got that done, you've basically prepped it to be repotted. Now, going back to the original coriander plant, I've already gone ahead and loosened up the roots, and a huge chunk of soil fell down. But as you can see, this is absolutely perfect because the roots are just hanging there pretty loose. And I've gone ahead as well, and remember that there's a space issue with these plants in their tiny containers, and I've separated it a little bit and into like two little clumps. Now, I don't want to pull this plant apart because it's completely intertwined, and doing that I just kind of rip it in half, but I do want to make like a little bit of separation when I pot them. So let's see just how I do that. So I'm going to put one clump in here, and just going to go ahead and put a bunch of dirt like around it, kind of, and I'll take the other clump and put that next to it and then kind of fill in that gap there. And that's basically it, guys. Like, now you've pretty much replanted it, and in a couple of days this will go from looking like it's at the end of its life back to looking like a healthy coriander plant. So obviously, last clip in this episode is going to be me showing you how happy this plant is after that. Now, you might be wondering what this yellow stuff in the pot is. Now, this is an experiment that I did a couple months ago, and what this is just mulch. You can either get like some loose straw or some rocks. If you just basically look up like mulch, you'll find whatever they're selling in your local area. And what this did for me on my balcony, because I'm growing everything in containers, is it reduced my watering needs from like pretty much every other day to once a week, which is a huge reduction. And the plants are a lot happier because they have like a much more stable amount of moisture in the pot throughout the week. And that's another tip I can give you guys for how to make sure that these repotted plants get like really, really happy. But basically, that's how you solve the root bound issue, and that's really all these plants need in order to thrive. So, you can install